right, the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir with That's Why I Praise You.
I see what's happening here.
I'm doing the...
Okay.
I'm doing my... That's the...
Is that Good morning.
Morning, everyone. Morning. That's why we praise him, because, you know, for starting us on our day.
Absolutely.
For waking us up this morning. You know, we have life. We may have, you know, some soaked property. But for the most part, we're still here. Give thanks.
I am grateful. I am so grateful. We had a lot of anticipation and a lot of anxiety yesterday.
Yes.
And I would say that, you know, some of our biggest complaints is with us not having light or maybe some
internet.
water, no internet. If that is our biggest problem, we're not no problem.
We're not no problem,
so
you know.
Thanks be to God today. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's a strange feeling though, Dennis.
Yes.
You know, like when I would think that it's like when you pass PEP for your school of choice, but your really good friend didn't. So you want to celebrate, but you know there are people out there who maybe have had a worse experience. So then you kind of have to temper the celebration. But I am so grateful. But I know there are so many people who did receive damage or have been going through things. And for that, we are here for you.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
well,
and also people are waking up wanting to just know what happened, you know, what is going on? This road clear, that place who always flood out, how them stay. So what we're going to try to do as much as possible is to give you a round robin, a kind of omnibus kind of show where we touch various places and
as best as we can, based on who have internet and who have light,
who's available,
right?
who you know, who's reachable. We're going to do that for you today. So you know, we're going to begin. We're going to begin with a praise report. Now, I gather that it's from Evan Thompson. Ooh. And it's and so let's have this praise report.
My father always says God continues to be kind, and I don't know what Jamaica did to get in God's graces the way that we are, but I feel like every time these, you know, things are supposed to hit us, I don't know, it just kind of give me a little
we get a good lick still, but it could have been worse. It could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse, and a lot of people are not feeling oh, so blessed.
Well, that's true. That's true.
A lot of people are not feeling it. So, but it shifted south.
Yeah.
So it moved along the south coast.
It wasn't as direct as it was projected to be.
And it was a little bit more south coast than it was originally projected to have been. So, I mean, it could have been. And so this is where it is now, you know, off the coast, off the Negril Point, heading towards, you know, in the vicinity of the Cayman Islands. So they're getting it, and it will head off into the Yucatan Peninsula and into the Gulf of Mexico. Hopefully it dissipates as it goes along and weekends.
My understanding is that it's going to be hitting Cayman Islands as a Category 3. So, you know, where our prayers are with you, Cayman Islands. We hope that all goes well and that, you know, you're protected and safe at this time. Yeah. Indeed. How was it coming to work though? Did you have any challenges?
I had a maze coming to work.
Really?
So, you know, driving on the road that I use most of the times. First of all, you know, it was like a tree falling here, so this lane is blocked, so you have to zoop, and then a tree falling here, so you have to zoop back, and then all of a sudden, bang! That is Shortwood Road in the vicinity of Shortwood Teachers College, so it's currently impassable right there.
So you have to scale it and come?
No, you have to...
Look at determination.
all to be with the Sunrise community. But yeah, so it is now impassable.
Yeah,
so persons would have to drive all the way around, you know, go through like places like Arcadia or go through Norbrook, etc., etc. But you know, it's a mess out there. But at least you know, you know.
Yeah, and I know I'm definitely one of the 60%ers that don't have lights. What about you? You had lights?
I lost electricity from pretty early yesterday.
As did I.
You know, but I was talking to my mom in Spanish Town, and she had up until the point where she's like, "Well, I'm off to bed. I'm gonna put my phone to charge." I'm like,
lucky you. No, I lost light pretty early as well. And so yeah, that was probably the most uncomfortable. There was a point in time though, Dennis, around, I don't know if it's about 2 o'clock or so, that the wind got a little wispy.
Oh yes.
It got a little,
I know exactly that point.
It got a little crackly, man.
Yeah,
I got a little nervous. I mean, I wasn't scared, you know, people. I wasn't scared,
no,
but you know,
I never scared.
I was a little concerned.
Yeah,
you know?
You were concerned. And then in the back of my yard there's a large mango tree. Yeah. And I saw the wind go like this. I was like, oh, look at that. And then I was standing at the kitchen window, and I just heard whap. The tree just snapped in half. Like I watched it bend until it snapped in half. This massive mango tree, and then it just fell into the yard.
Well, you know, us complex people don't know about that life. We're not really into the trees thing with you
I'm
people,
not that complex.
So I'm a whole heap of trees in the complex.
And I don't have a complex, and I'm not in a complex. So I suffer from a different complex.
Yeah, I can imagine. But you know who I also wanted to big up real quick? As I said, complex. The security guards that worked throughout the hurricane, whether at office buildings, whether at complexes, you know, residential complexes, to be in their space for that, you know,
in a confined
space to protect, you know, whether property or person. Thank you so much, security guards, all over Jamaica.
Indeed.
But I'm curious to know what everybody else's experience is. So if you could just reach out to us on our Instagram page, maybe on our YouTube page, and let us know what happened with you.
This is Grand Spin onto Constant Spring Road.
That's pretty clear.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Only the darkness.
Yeah, so.
But other than that, pretty clear.
Indeed.
So yeah, let us know. I'd love to know, especially if you are not in Kingston, what was your experience and what's it looking like outside your window? Don't go on the road. But what's it like looking out your window?
Yes, please don't go on the road. One person who is in the country shared her experience. Actress Shirley Ralph in Jamaica, she experienced Hurricane Beryl ahead of her son's wedding.
Oh,
Let's check this one out.
Okay, everybody. Let me tell you something. Now it's starting, and I'm not going to go all the way out here, but okay, it's happening now. We are praying for safety for everybody. And stay off the roads, stay inside, because I'm going all the way back inside now. Yeah.
Not too terrible.
No,
not
it don't look bad.
Terrible,
I guess this may have been yesterday afternoon when the winds were clapping the place.
Starting the clap.
Yeah, definitely.
But
definitely.
I'm hoping that the son's wedding is this weekend,
so
and
there's
time
up
to
and recover
clean,
and put back
clear,
together.
and stuff. And if Shirley Ralph is here, that means that she's missing. It's 4th of July today.
Yes, in the
States,
US, it's Independence Day in the United States of America, effectively called the. Do you know how many countries in the world have a 4th of July?
Well, every country has a 4th of July, but how many of them celebrate it?
I was trying to catch you there.
No, I got you.
Definitely. Yeah. So it's 4th of July celebrations.
Yeah, so
in the United States.
all of our family members who are in the States, happy 4th of July.
Happy
and hopefully
Independence
you're
Day.
spending your morning with us.
Indeed.
You're not at work. Come.
Indeed. Well, we're going to go to the mixtape. Albert Dascola, better known by his stage name Alborosi
Yeah.
is an Italian reggae artist. He is sometimes called the Italian reggae ambassador.
That's it, and is it his birthday
It's
today?
his
It's his
birthday
birthday.
today.
Happy birthday,
Yeah,
Alborosi.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I know that Rupert Lloyd Edwards, who is the mixtape, is a Jamaican reggae singer and record producer for songs like Irie Feelings, Lego, Skanker, I'm Gonna Live Some Life and more. It's his birthday as well. So happy birthday. As a matter of fact, we'll make you take us into the mixtape. So
All right.
let's run the July track selector.
Track.
Come ya let go, some jump like Lego, be some jump like Lego, be some although you belong to somebody else, I love you more than anything else in this world. And I love the way you look at me. Every day you're wondering. What will you do? Every day you're what will you do? Then you try to reach the top. Then you'll be free. You wouldn't even give me love and affection. Turn me on in the right direction. You've got sweet lips, so nice to kiss. Give me love in the morning.
Welcome back to Sunrise. Looking at the clock, it is 16 minutes after 6, and that means it's time for the headlines with your hot cup of ginger TK. Good morning, Teeks.
Good morning. morning. How do you do that?
I don't know.
It just comes
I
to you.
just whatever's coming out. Just,
Every morning,
just
I don't
hope
know.
that it clears with the broadcast commission.
I'm sure it will. I have faith in you. All right, let's jump into it. Let's see what's been happening. A lot of things been happening in the headlines, as you can imagine.
Yes.
So we'll just pick a few and then we'll get to the news later. Gordon Town residents worried about landslides. Residents in Gordon Town are fearing a scenario they've grown all too familiar with, landslides. Battered by Beryl's rains, Jamaica's hillsides are rolling, posing a threat to residents in some areas as heavy rainfall is known to have houses demolished or sink into the soil. So,
well, it is a hazard of living in this space. I think that as we've said, like I would be very fearful because you never know which section is going to be weakened by it. And as we have development, you have construction, you have people digging into the soil, into the rock in some instances, and so you're going to change the profile of the hillside as there's more housing and that sort of a thing. And so as even we kind of urbanize and expand into the hilly interior, you're going to have these things. So I can imagine that they are concerned, but it is a function also of just them living there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when we look at that, I mean, water is running in places that it never used to run, maybe trees that would have held the soil together, given it, you know, structure. You know, things have significantly changed.
Look at that house on the edge, right?
On the very edge, I would urge those persons, don't go back.
Oh.
I mean, easier said than done, because, I mean...
Is that...
That looks like a boulder that has been stopped by the house. Yeah.
Thank God it stopped there and not in the actual house.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I talk about when I say there are so many things to be grateful for, but then there are so many people dealing with other things as well.
Absolutely.
And so that's wild. But speaking of residents having some issues, the next stop is Hellshire Beach forces residents to leave. So strong winds and waves barged onto the Hellshire Sands in Portmore St. Catherine, forcing residents out of their homes and business owners left worried about their shops. These scenes aren't new, however. They've been through Hurricanes Dean, Ivan and others. A vendor on the beach explains that each time disaster struck, their buildings fell prey to the dashing waves, which I can imagine.
As you would imagine.
Yes,
and as we move closer and closer to the dashing waves, you would imagine so. Even in the best of times, nowadays, when you go to some of these shops at Hellshire, you're going to the shop and then you're looking out
at the water.
At the water. And I mean, I'm from Spanish Town, so like, you know, August, Independence Day and those kind of Emancipation Day, and, you know, as picnic you go Hellshire. And Hellshire used to be this sprawling beach, and now it's sprawling shops. So I would imagine that if a hurricane is coming, that you're going to have lots of those sprawling shops affected. You know, it's the product of expansion of humans into spaces where they never were before.
So there is the benefit of living on the waterfront or doing business on the waterfront.
Yes,
but then, of course,
it's wonderful in great times.
It's wonderful for us to go there and look out at the water while we eat or do business. So there we go. There's the waterfront right now. Look at Ribby's. I believe that's Ribby's. The roof. The roof
and look at the roof.
The roof went a blowing. And this is what we're talking about when you're by the water. Also,
we did see the airport, the roof of the airport went as well, or sections of it. You know, that it goes to show that not everybody fared as well as others. Yes, we did see, this is a shot from out by the Norman Manley International Airport, so some work will have to be done out there. Of course, they were as southerly gets, pretty much. So definitely that is one that we, you know, you would expect them to have gotten the worst of it when, you know, as close to the eye as it gets. Again, you know, that is why we have insurance.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that later
Yeah,
on in the show.
definitely.
But
And
that's why you have to have insurance.
And that's why I guess, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, it's so inconvenient. The airport is closed. I have a flight. I was supposed to come in, but these are the things that
you know
have
where the
to
airport
close.
is? The
You have
airport
to
is
close.
out in the eye.
Exactly.
So just, you know.
Just you know, we're thinking of you when we
Imagine
close.
the airline told me that they canceled my flight. Like, imagine.
You could have been trapped in the airport with a leaking seal. It wouldn't even be a roof anymore because it didn't exist.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I'd rather not. So
And
definitely
last
glad
up,
for that one.
Homeless persons receive help, but are they willing to accept? We talked about this yesterday, Dennis, in terms of unhoused people getting the opportunity to go to shelters. Before Hurricane Beryl and even now during the after events, concerns were raised by homeless persons regarding their safety during the passage of the expected wind and rains. Despite many utilizing the shelters provided, others still put up resistance. Kingston and St. Andrew Mayor Andrew Swaby and his team did the rounds trying to get shelter, trying to get unhoused persons to shelter from the weather system. Despite the outcome, many decided to remain content where they were, whether rain or shine. So some people refusing.
Did you see that report where the lady said she's not leaving Coronation Market?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, the lady said she's not leaving Coronation Market. You're going to have to tie her to our stall. Tie she and our dog to the stall because she was here before Beryl and she will be here after.
You know, I saw one of our reporters, Ramon Gordon, post something on Instagram, and it really resonated with me, where he said, you know, people are always saying, you know, why are people so stupid? Why they don't go to the shelter? Why they don't leave? Why they don't evacuate? And, you know, in his interviews with people, you know, it's coming from, as he says, sometimes when we ask those questions, we need to check our privilege, because it's easy to say, just go in, it's stuff. You can't just buy the stuff back. Whereas for some persons, what they were expressing was to leave is to leave everything, not knowing if we'll ever come back and see it. And we don't have the money to buy it back. We don't have the opportunity to go and just, you know, shop for it again. And then, so then there's a side of, yeah, but then it's your life. But then
exactly, which is why I'm not seeing the check your privilege part. But I mean,
for when people say they can just buy the stuff back.
Yeah, right.
Not everyone.
Well, no, but eventually, if you're alive, you will live to either buy the things back or buy other things. But if you're dead, you're dead.
This is true.
Which is why you have laws, which is, you know, whether it's disaster risk management, curfews, etc., because you have to protect people from themselves. And the idea is that people are going to do dumb things. And what you would hope is that, well, what you would say is that people doing dumb things should not result in them dying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you have to create laws to protect people from the dumb things from the poor choices that they will ultimately make.
I think that's where he was coming from. Whereas we see it as, that's a dumb choice, that's so stupid. That's coming from a place of privilege. Whereas we can say, boy, I do empathize.
No, it is.
I empathize.
It's one thing to understand.
You need to move.
I understand his argument. I understand his argument. I'm just saying, you can empathize, but acknowledge that dumb choice.
I empathize with anyone who has to walk away from everything they have. But on the other side of the break, Money Masterclass still a keep. Kinda. We're going to try to figure it out. But we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Carlton.
We're not hearing him, Keisha.
Not hearing him on floor.
Good morning, Carlton.
Good morning.
Well, we should say buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Are you back from Cabo San Lucas?
He can be louder.
From Tulum?
Push Carlton on floor louder, please.
Dennis, you okay? TK, okay?
I'm
Me
great.
not tell them what you did there.
I'm great, you know. I mean, I wish I was in an infinity pool and, you know, 5-star resort. But you know, I'm holding firm here.
Yeah, me too. I wish I was still there as well.
Us brokies.
Good. But you.
Nobody don't.
Welcome back to Sunrise, and we are here. Thank you. This segment is brought to you by Natalia Clark's pink blanket that she is nestled in behind my camera that is in my line of sight. Good morning to you, wherever you are, and the blanket that you are currently nestled in. Now, Hurricane Beryl might be gone, but we are still fresh in the hurricane season. And this morning, Carlton joins us on the phone because he has no data, activating our Beryl financial recovery plan. Carlton, how is Beryl treating you?
Gosh.
Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, TK. Beryl has been okay. I mean, a little the water here and there, but give thanks. How are you guys doing?
We are good. We are
great.
good.
But
We are
Carlton,
good.
I know aren't you celebrating an anniversary or celebrating an
You've
anniversary
been celebrating an
recently?
anniversary.
How many
You've
years
been.
has it been?
Thank you, Dennis. I've been. It's 10 years.
Ah,
10 years of marriage.
happy 10-year anniversary, Carlton.
Following
and,
you on
and
social
wife.
media, we know exactly what you've been saving up on that. on that. I'm like, so these are the vacation tips that he was giving us.
I love it. I love it. Congratulations, and may God continue to cover your union, Carlton.
Thank you very much, TK. Thank you, Dennis.
All right.
So talk to us.
Talk to us about financial recovery.
All right, so the reality is we are going through this, and persons obviously it will have an impact on their finances, on their money. Today, a lady in the market who says she's not leaving the market because this is where her money is. And I said to myself, people take their money seriously whether there's a storm on hand or not. Was the wisest thing? Definitely not. It brings me into this morning's discussion that people value their money. But number one, we have all gone through this, and I want us to assess the damage to our property, to our goods, to the business. We have to do an assessment now to see how much money, this will cost. How much money did we actually lose during all of this, the damage that, occurred to our property. Number two, I want us to also look at were the properties insured. Did we have insurance on the car, for example, or was the house insured, or something that was damaged? Was it insured? To see how we can now reach out to our insurance companies today, tomorrow, find out houses that we can start recovering from a financial perspective. That's a very important part to look at. But number three, it may be time to draw some of that money that we have been saving in the emergency savings. This is something that we have been talking about. From maybe early on this year or last year, building emergency savings. This is an actual emergency. So if that you had any amount of damage, any amount of things that you would have lost, now is the perfect time to look at how much money you can take from this saving to put you back in a better position or to where you were before. you need to do that. And what is important to note is that even though you may have $1 million saved, for example, it doesn't mean that you're going to move all of that money now because you have an emergency.
So true.
You assess how much you need to use at a minimum to put you back to where you were. All right? Say, for example, we took out 500,000, 200,000, or whatever it is to get us back there. We have to start thinking, how am I going to put this money back? We are very early in the hurricane, guys. It's a record. It's the first time we have had this category hurricane this early in the season. We have weeks to go. We have months to go. So we cannot use the money now and then there's nothing to help us in August, for example. Or September is something at that point. So we must assess to see how much we're going to take from these savings because we need to start replenish as soon as possible. Number two, from replenishing the emergency savings, we need to look at, based on our next pay cycle, how are we going to start doing this? We cannot wait until next month or the next 2 months. As early as this month end, for example, we need to start putting the money into the savings account if we are using it to get our houses back in order or our assets back in order. Number three, I want to look at how that we can make a recovery budget. We need to start recovering. Temporarily reducing our spending on some fun items right now because we're in a zone where we must put back the money or start increasing our savings towards emergencies. Set a goal. After you look at how much money you can really actually save extra, do you make that payment towards the savings every month so you can reach the goal? Set a goal, guys. That's the way we want to go. And number five, I want to automate the money going to that account. Because if we do not do that during the summer period here, we get derailed when the sun is out next week, or we start seeing the parties and stuff. We no longer remember that we have a goal that we need to meet, automate. And my last tip on that, I want us to prioritize right now on some essential expenses right now. So if we had purchases that we want to make, and these are non-essential, pause a little and ensure that we have enough money to put away just in case we have any more emergencies that are coming up. And it's important to note now, if you can avoid debt right now, extra debt, backing the credit card debt up now, you want to try to do that right now. Reduce increasing your debt because what that will do is take away money that you can put in that saving towards additional hurricane that may come up or extra rain coming up in this season right now. And maintain discipline. It is so important to maintain discipline at this point in time because you don't know what will happen. And we need to ensure that our money is still on point because it's so important in a season and a time like now. But be safe, everybody. It's so important that we remain where we are. Be safe. Don't play any hero right now in the storm, in the after effect of the storm, because you want to maintain, your sanity. You want to maintain your safety, and your family is important.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Carlton. You know what? The one that resonated with me was it's still early in the hurricane season. So more storms can come, So don't use up your stash.
Carlton would almost remind us of that, man. Here I am
it is
celebrating.
Very early.
Yeah, it's true.
It will continue into November.
That is so true.
It is very early in the hurricane season. And, some of the snacks, some of the thin things when you're back, just go on build. Like, okay, it gone, so you have to eat off the things, Not necessarily.
What hit me was Carlton saying that this is a good time to draw on the emergency fund. We keep hearing, don't touch your emergency fund. Don't touch your emergency fund. Save on the emergency. And I'm just like, wait, it's true. This is an emergency. So it's time to touch it if you need it.
If you need it.
Not all of it.
Yeah, but assess first, guys. Assess first to see what you
Good
need
talk.
from it.
Good talk, Carlton. Thank you very much.
Have a good one, guys. I'll see you soon.
Definitely hope so. All right?
Adios.
All right, thank you very much to our Money Master, Carlton. Coming up next, it's time for an Eye on Beryl update with our news team. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Sunrise, family. As you know, Jamaica has been undergoing stormy weather as Hurricane Beryl passes. It's always important to track the details and be in the know. So joining us are CVM news reporters Ramon Gordon and Trisha Gay Kelly. I'm surprised they're still standing after the night they've been, after the day and night they've had. They'll be recapping all that took place on day one of Beryl's effects on the island.
Guys,
Welcome.
how are you doing?
Welcome.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for
Absolutely.
going out there to get the stories to tell our viewers. Is it your first hurricane as reporters?
Yes. First hurricane as reporter.
You never forget your first, you know. You never forget your first. And I always say, after you've done an election and you've done a hurricane, you are now officially a reporter.
Okay, I'm a reporter.
Officially.
What can you tell us? You guys were in the streets. What can you tell us about the effects you saw?
Tell us, where were you? Where did you cover mostly?
I visited the Bogwalk Gorge first, and then I headed over to Portmore to cover. That was basically most of St. Catherine. I went through Spanish Town too to get a little view of it. So for the Bogwalk Gorge, I was surprised that the gate wasn't already closed, seeing that we were expecting a Category 4 hurricane.
Right.
The residents, however, they weren't fazed by it. They said it's a regular thing for them, and if you know the gorge well, you know that when you get heavy rainfall or a natural disaster, they're normally flooded. The water is very high, and it did get high last night. It covered the bridge, but they weren't concerned about that. I think the only thing they were concerned about is wind, blowing down trees on their houses. But pretty much that was it for the gorge. Over in Portmore, there were a multiplicity of concerns. So from gullies to Helsha Beach, which was the highlight of Portmore for me, and almost getting taken by a wave. Yeah,
Tell us
being
about
risky. So we went there and we saw police officers leaving because I believe they were trying to get people out to evacuate the business owners as well.
Yes.
And a few people told us they were leaving there as well. So we went down to see what was happening with the sea. The waves were already coming on land. Water was surrounding some of the businesses there. And we were taking footage. I had to do my stand-up there as well. But because we want the footage and for it to look good, I have to turn my back to the sea. So I'm totally relying on my videographer to tell me if this wave is going to cover me, you have to have my back, literally.
Wow.
So I'm standing there and the waves are coming. One at a time it reached past my ankle and come up. You know, I'm small. My little Teletubby suit can't manage it. And because it's a bit big, it's easy for me to be swaying or move. So it was an experience.
Yes.
So after that, of course, I got out.
Yes.
Yeah, no room for that.
Thankfully, you got out.
Yeah.
What about you, Ramon?
I was in New Haven. I was there last year after rains caused a similar flooding event. They're used to flooding there, and it's a similar sentiment Trisha gave. The residents there, they refuse to evacuate because they're like, we're used to this. And this hurricane is not going to be any different from the rains. Well, I went back there last evening. It was a completely different tone. The neighborhood was almost empty. Some of the residents had evacuated because the floodwaters did in fact come in. We were expecting it. We were not surprised. But when I got there in the dead of night, it was really devastating to see. One of the residents, he led me through the community. I spoke with some residents there, tried to get an update from the fire brigade. They were there on the ground. They couldn't brief us yet, which I understand. But a lot has happened and a lot will continue to happen. We're getting reports from around the island. It's not looking great. In St. Elizabeth, in Manchester, I was on the phone with my mother just before I got into studio. It's the first I've heard from my family since the hurricane because I've been on the road, I've been working. They are scared, but they're grateful to be alive. My friends in St. Elizabeth, I haven't gotten any updates from them. I haven't been able to reach anybody in St. Elizabeth, and I haven't been able to reach anybody in Trelawney. So currently, we're bracing for what we're going to see when we go out today because we are going back on the road. I'm going back to New Haven. Trish is going, where are you going, Trish?
Going back to Portmore.
She's going to Portmore, and our other colleagues are going to be going to other parts of the island.
I saw some of our colleagues out trying to get an idea of what's happening in the eastern part of the island, which tends to get things first. What was the story like coming out of that space?
I know Natalia was in St. Thomas, and to be honest, she had a lot to cover because there was major flooding, there was roadway damage, and she was literally risking her life. Well, she risked her phone. Thank you, Natalia, for your service. Ooh.
You know what I'm curious about? Let me ask you, Ramon, and then Trisha. when you go out as a journalist, you know, and you're trying to capture the story, there's the story of, you know, like what's happening, but then there's also the story of the human condition. I mean, what have you learned about the Jamaican people by telling their story through this hurricane peril?
Oh, well, I've learned that Jamaicans have learned to endure a lot of trauma, and we deal with it in a very unique way. A hurricane is coming, it's a category 4. You remember Ivan? Ivan had a similar effect, and we saw the devastation it brought with it. But then you see video coming out online with people playing football in the rain, people having parties in the rain. Jamaicans are traumatized people that have just learned to live with the trauma, you know. And that's, I think, the fundamental thing I've learned about Jamaicans.
What about you, Trish?
Ramon said something in his story last night, and he said we just see it as going into their community. I'm not remembering voluntarily, but they have to live there. It's an experience for them that they have to endure. And when I went to Portmore, on both sides, when I went to Waterford, the gully, the people can't tackle it alone, and they were calling on their representatives to come help them. There's literally a tree in the gully that fell weeks ago, and it was not removed. Their power saws can't cut it, so they needed help. And the gully water is literally worse than sewage. And it came up before and flooded their roads, and they were afraid that it would come in their house. That's not healthy. And then over in Hillshaw, all of those people are about to lose their business again. And they're scared. You can understand why. The beach is literally gone now. So they have no livelihood to go back to.
Right,
So what about today in terms of, you mentioned that you will be going back on the road, but what type of coverage can people expect from CVM today in terms of Hurricane Beryl updates?
We're going to paint a picture of you and let you know exactly what happened.
Yes, as well as to show you that the residents' fears, they're coming true. They are reality today. I know the gorge is blocked. I'm not sure if it's even opened as yet, but I will be going back over to Hillshaw to see the damage done.
All right, so we will get that look in the recovery phase. We've gone through the we've gone through the storm, and now we are coming out of it, and we will keep you informed. Wall-to-wall coverage of Hurricane Beryl. We're keeping our eye on it for you. Our guests have been Ramon Gordon and Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News reporters. The BCIC Sunrise Insurance Lounge is up next. We'll be right back. All right.
Misha, you can hear me?
Shit.
Misha Gay, you there?
I am.
Yeah, the long one moving.
Not hearing Misha.
Sorry.
I am hearing you.
Oh, Misha Gay, you hearing me now?
Hi there.
Hey. Hi.
Hi.
That's
Thank you for staying with us, Sunrisers. Sunrise Insurance Lounge continues. So this week, BCIC shares with us before and after hurricane tips, as well as a deep dive into their financial strength, the rating, meaning, and why it matters for consumers. Our guest this morning is Branch Supervisor at HQ British Caribbean Insurance Company Limited, Mesha Gay Ruddock. Mesha Gay.
Morning, Mesha.
Hi, good morning, guys. Morning, TK. Morning, Dennis.
How are you? How are things on your side?
I am okay. I'm safe. My family is safe, so I'm very grateful. Thank you. How are you?
We're good. We're good and giving thanks. Well, I mean, before we get into some of those things, I know you're nice. You're very nice. So you're not going to say, I told you so. But several of the things that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks have come to pass. We've seen property damage, vehicles. We've seen homes, etc. It speaks to the importance of insuring your things. In terms of BCIC and what you offer, I mean, remind us of some of those things that you told us about in terms of this kind of peril insurance for your property.
For sure. Well, we would have in our first series when we launched, we spoke about property insurance, covering your home and your valuables. We also spoke about motor insurance, protecting your motor vehicle against loss or damage. So those were two of the primary things we discussed.
Okay, great.
Definitely.
And I noticed that you said that we were going to get some tips. I love tips. Tips are so helpful. So now that we've been preparing for the hurricane, what are some tips you can give us about the aftermath of the hurricane now?
I mean, for preparation, we were encouraging persons to definitely, one, ensure they have their emergency documentation together, safeguarding things like your important documents, your IDs, your passports, your birth certificates, that kind of a thing. Also ensuring you have key emergency contacts in place, taking photographs of your property before the disaster or the catastrophe. And then in terms of the post-op, it looks like also assessing the damage, certainly when it is safe to do so. So that would look like, walking around your property, looking at any damage that's there, photographing and videographing any that, you have sustained.
Mesha, I understand in terms of BCIC and its own rating internationally, you're the only company with an AM best rating. What does that mean and how does that help you serve your customers better?
So our AM best rating is what we deem another stamp of approval, a global stamp of approval in light of our financial strength. What it does is, similar to how you get a grade in class from A to F is the grading, A plus plus being the best of the best. But for a company to be rated at all, it's a big deal. And what it says is that AM Best, the rater, has essentially stated that BCIC is of such a financial strength that we can certainly respond to the claims of our customers and, certainly pay them for their losses.
I would imagine that you are going to receive a deluge of claims. What can people expect? How should people behave at this time when they are going to come to you to make a claim?
I mean, we are preparing ourselves for what is to come. We would have had different meetings, in preparation for this, and we expect the flood of phone calls and messages, and we have set up different methods for our customers to reach us, and we are ready and available. I mean, at this point, our entire staff members are becoming claims representatives, so ideally, we're there to collect all the information we can and do our best to send out our assessors or adjusters to get these damages assessed to quickly respond and get our customers back to the position they were prior to burial passing through.
So, Misha, I'm a visual person. So let's say I saw you the first episode and I said, no, I need insurance. I ran to you. I got insurance on my car, my property, and everything. Hurricane Beryl came, something fell down into my car or something damaged my home. What's the process? I would come in, you would come to my house and do an assessment. I would need to submit things. What's the exact process that people are going to go through step by step?
So firstly, I would have spoke to you earlier about the aftermath, taking photographs, videographs of the extent of your damage. So documenting it is important at first. Then you can either reach out to us, you can call us at 922-1260, and we will definitely get all the information. Like I said, all of our staff is pretty much a claims handler right now. So we'll document the loss that you would have sustained. You can also go on our website, which is bciconline.com, and we've set up something specifically for hurricane burial for you to document what would have happened to you. And what we do thereafter is we quickly send out our adjusters to the various locations to assess any damage. What we do too is we encourage persons to make a claim or to report the loss within 30 days. So it is a case where you have some time to assess any damage that was brought to your property.
Tell us a little bit about the experience, the BCIC experience at this time. So much of the frustration, I mean, you're going to deal with maybe hundreds, maybe even thousands of claims. But for me, I'm just one, and I'm going through a very difficult time. I don't want people to deal with me nice. Tell me about the BCIC experience of how you treat your customers and how that's different.
At BCIC, we value the customer experience so dearly. We believe our customers are part of us. They're part of the family. And certainly our hearts go to those who were affected by burial significantly. We are prepared to just, hold your hands through the process because we understand it's a catastrophe and we understand that persons have lost their livelihoods, have lost their financial strengths, etc. And we're here to prop you back up to that place. So like I said, we're all trained up and ready to answer the calls, to respond as best as we can, and to provide the support and hand-holding that our customers will need at this time.
Thank you so much for that, and we look forward to speaking with you in the future. We look forward to having you back in studio
I know,
next week.
thanks.
All right, our guest.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks as always. Thank you very much to Mesha Gay, Ruddock Branch Supervisor at the headquarters of BCIC. TK is ready with the news. More Sunrise when we return. Yeah, bye.
Good morning again. Welcome to Morning News. I'm TK Dawkins. We begin with the latest from the Met Office on Hurricane Beryl. The island's hurricane warning has been discontinued as Hurricane Beryl moves farther away. Hurricane Beryl now heads closer to the northwestern end of the Caribbean, inching closer to the Cayman Islands as a Category 3 hurricane. However, the Met Office has announced continuing periods of rainfall that could result in flash flooding over low-lying and flood-prone areas. Up to 5 o'clock this morning, a flash flood watch was in effect. Meanwhile, rescue workers will continue to search for the body of a man feared dead after being swept away in floodwaters yesterday in Kingston. The man is said to be 26 years old. And Hurricane Beryl also claimed the life of another 26-year-old, this time a woman in Hanover. Authorities say the woman was at home when a tree collapsed on her house, resulting in her tragic passing. And up to late last evening, the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPSCO, had advised that some 65% of customers on the grid were without power. That's an estimated 500,000 Jamaican households. Early updates from across the country proved several communities in nearly every parish were affected either by power outages or loss of internet connectivity. Sections of Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Trelawney and St. James have been reporting impassable roadways, landslides and downed trees. Only last evening, CVM News correspondents in St. Anne, St. James and Westmoreland reported incidents that left some communities devastated. Meanwhile, all government offices are to reopen today, according to the latest from the Office of the Prime Minister. Augusttown residents in St. Andrew were a perfect picture of confidence as the nation braced for the impact of Hurricane Beryl early Wednesday. When our news team visited the area, residents were optimistic about the storm and others opted to check in and provide for the most vulnerable. Courtney Lewis has the details.
Despite the threat of impending Hurricane Beryl, residents of the Augusttown area in East Rural St. Andrew are seemingly calm, asserting that if it must be, it must be.
Not really prepare, because you don't know, prior the thing there, you see. Well, for me, if it come, it have to come. Nothing really bother me. Just a praise after it gone, me have a life left.
Meanwhile, one resident, Iselin Adamson, recalled her previous hurricane experiences and opted to help other residents secure supplies amid Hurricane Beryl.
We only have two help right now, the two hills. If you notice, we're between two hills, so that's only our help now. So we are trying to move around those who can make it, move around to help those who can't make it, to make this thing. There's a church over there, that will be a shelter. Because as soon as the rain starts and who cannot make it out there, we take them in the church. Well, I got some clear packages from the MP yesterday, so I'm trying now to give as much to where it can reach, especially the golden ages. But they are shut-ins and they can't help themselves.
Nevertheless, some residents made last-minute efforts to secure their roofs and assisted in getting each other to safety.
But I just prepare, buy my little foods, my tin stuff, and a button down for the storm. I buy my flashlights and my little stuff for that already, if in case what light and water gone.
When CVM last interacted with residents, many were calm and confident about weathering the intense rains. Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
Before Hurricane Beryl and even now during the after-weather event, concerns were raised by homeless persons regarding their safety during the passage of the expected wind and rains. Despite many utilizing the shelters provided, others still put up resistance. Adrian Williams tells us more in this story.
A whirlwind of concerns are swirling during the passage of Hurricane Beryl, and the homeless have been thrown into the spin. There are a number of homes and night shelters across the country, but are they enough?
see you today, saying, yeah, man. Nobody now come out. Nobody now come out. Nobody now come out. I tell you the truth, my brother. Nobody now come. A hurricane time, brethren.
Kingston and St. Andrew Mayor Andrew Swaby and his team did the rounds today, trying to get homeless persons shelter from the weather system. But for some, they say they have not been approached to receive assistance.
I want some food. That's why I'm not going to thief nothing to get myself in no worries. I'm not going to thief nobody nothing. I'm homeless and I try to beg people, decent people like you, the CVM people, and I want to try to start, you know, just get a work. Is even try to wash off car.
So you're going there tonight? Where are you going to be during the hurricane?
I'm going to be up there.
You're going to the Marriott?
Yes, I'm going to the Marriott Kings, yes. And I want to try to give my love to my family down by the countryside, St. Thomas.
At a media briefing today, Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Minister of Local Government Desmond McKenzie met with the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, where the matter of homeless persons was addressed.
Well, you know, the KSMAC, I've been in touch with the mayor. We have provided over some 100 cots to the KSMAC to erect this facility on Church Street, and the KSAC have been doing that. And right across the island, I must confess that the municipalities have been extending themselves significantly to house homeless persons, and we have been doing that, and I think it's working out to be a very successful one.
While the options remain open for homeless persons, are the efforts and space enough? Despite the outcome, many will decide to remain content, whether rain or shine. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
And that's it for Morning News. Join us again at noon for more news and sports desk. I'm TK Dawkins. Sunrise continues after this.
Thanks for staying with us here on Sunrise. We are keeping our eye on Beryl for you. Thank you very much for choosing CVM TV. Well, at this time, we are going to get an update from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. We have the Director General, Richard Thompson, on the line because it is so important to understand the current phase that we are in and where things go from here. Sir Thompson, how are you doing?
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm good. We have live, so we are good.
Indeed. So let us get an idea of where things are now, because we are officially into the recovery phase of things, and so the storm has, for the most part, passed. Is Western Jamaica currently experiencing any effects of the system, or is it now out of Jamaica's atmosphere?
So it's out of our territorial waters, out of our atmosphere, so to speak. What we are doing now is trying to get some quick information coming in from Clarendon, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, and over in terms of what is happening out there. So that's where we are currently. The most of the impact that we are seeing so far is on the south coast.
It's on the south coast, as you would imagine, yes.
Yeah, so we're trying to know. The team has been up from about, well, those who got a little sleep back up, and we're up trying to pull that information in now. So what we're kind of doing now is a kind of rapid damage assessment to get some information as to what is happening out there.
So then, again, in this third phase of the response to Hurricane Beryl, where we are beginning to try to recover, as you would have suggested, the damage assessment is critical. How can persons watching this conversation assist the ODPEM with providing you that critical feedback so that you can do your assessments?
Well, they can just still. What happened is that a lot of persons in the communities have information to the local authorities. That kind of connection line. So they can push the information there, and they can also call over our lines at the advent and push the information there as well. Because what we want to ensure that information. If you're looking down a bit, I am kind of working and still talking to you.
I understand. Go ahead.
So we're trying to push that information out, those information lines, so persons can send us those information, because we really want to get the information coming in from the parishes, so we can really have a full appreciation as to what is happening out there, so we can go to the next step.
Well, I can tell you one road that's impassable, Shortwood Road. In the vicinity of Shortwood Teachers College, there is a large tree that has fallen, and it has rendered that section of the road impassable. So that will need some support from maybe the National Works Agency to begin removing. If you look at the monitor, that image there is right in front of, or just by the gate to Shortwood Teachers College. I would imagine that persons who would be, trying to make their way down will have to make U-turns. We definitely can share that kind of information. We've been receiving, our reporters have been receiving information from the persons that they would have been speaking with during the course of yesterday as they gathered their stories. And so you can expect a lot more of that, for instance, from your media partners.
Yes, and once we get those, it would give us a greater appreciation for us to rapidly pull together that information to get a real good picture as to what is happening.
Mr. Thompson, people look to the ODPEM in times like these especially. Is there anything that you would like to say to, the island? You have their ears, you have their eyes at this time. Maybe a last message today for the people of Jamaica.
Well, it's still to stay safe. We will be having periodic periods of rainfall throughout the day, and for persons still to stay safe. If you don't forget to be out there, still staying. We know that it's rough on some persons, know that some persons don't have power. What JPS is saying is about 61% of the country is still out of power because they are turned down power lines. a lot of those are infrastructural damage. So I know it kind of might be rough on some persons that don't have power, you're at home, you don't have AC, but we're saying the person still allow the state entities to be out there to do the necessary work that we have to do, get the information and to try and get the country back up and running.
Absolutely. And again, thank you so much for the work that the entire team is doing, the tireless, sometimes thankless work that you're doing.
And the work of the emergency response, the command center continues in
Yes,
certainly.
man. You know, last night at the nightly debriefing, I said to the team, guys, we constantly have to ensure that we get it right, because the one time you get it wrong, everybody will talk about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we continue doing the work. Thank you very much, Richard Thompson. We have the contact numbers that we've put out there, the digital lines, the toll-free line is out there, the office lines of the ODPEM. So if you are in a space that you have a situation that you believe ODPEM needs to be aware of, contact these numbers, 876-618 5840, 5639, 5638, 5637. Also the toll-free line 1-888-CALL-ODP. That's 1-888-225-6337. Because through these lines, you are able to channel up the information and they can begin the recovery process. If you are marooned in your community, get the information to the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management and ensure that they are able to help you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, man, thanks much. And thanks much as well for being a part of the overall national process. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So that was Richard Thompson, Director General of ODPEM. It's now time to take a short break. Stick and stay with us. It's still sunrise.
Thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, welcome to Sunrise. It is Thursday, July 4, and we are still in hurricane mode. Our next guest is the mayor of Spanish Town, chairman of the St. Catherine Parish Council, His Worship Norman Scott, here to give us an update on how Beryl has impacted his neck of the woods. Good morning, Mayor.
Morning, and morning to your listeners.
All right, so give us an idea. We've heard earlier today from one of our reporters, Trisha Gay, and she was telling us about the Portmore area, Helsha. She went to the Bagwat Gorge. But from where you sit, give us a synopsis of the reports that you've been getting.
Okay, when I left the EOC this last night at about 11, we had about 21 shelters that were open, with about 197 persons in those shelters. The largest one was the Old Harbor one, which had about 150 persons. In terms of road impacts, the hilly areas up in the north had major dislocations in terms of blockages. This was caused by lots of trees downing, power lines downing, and in the southern part of the parish, especially the Old Harbor Bay area, we had flooding, and this was caused from the sea coming in. A couple of drainage had overflown, but I must say, not many infrastructural damage was done in St. Catherine. We have reports of the Linstead police station, the Linstead courthouse, the roof partially gone and windows blown out. And that also caused flooding inside of the police station. We had to evacuate a 105-year-old lady from Old Harbor Bay. That person is now at the Spanish Town Infirmary, St. Catherine Infirmary. We kept her there because the shelter was not, didn't have the kind of facility to accommodate her. So we took her there, and she's in good condition, good spirit also.
Mayor, I would imagine that now is the time when, for instance, the parish disaster coordinators are most at work trying to engage the recovery. Tell us a bit about now how you will deploy even the support working with the councillors and the political director, but also the administrative side of the council to trigger the recovery process.
Let me just use the opportunity to also commend the emergency agencies, the fire department, the police, the military, JUTC, from early, when the early warning system for Old Harbor Bay was triggered at about 11 yesterday. The JUTC buses were in on the area and were able to remove persons very quickly. Last night, there was a fallen tree on the Mandela Highway. The fire department was there early, and we got that road cleared. So right now, we're looking forward to getting the reports of the blockages and to now deploy persons with the chainsaws and backhoes, because I'm told that there's several land slippages up in the northern parts of the parish, places like Above Rocks, Guys Hill, those are mainly areas that we're hearing about, land slippages and downing trees that are blocking the roadways. So the team at the EOC, led by Ms. Jagan Thompson, we are getting as many reports now, so that at our 8 o'clock briefing this morning, we'll be able to get a first-hand update as to the areas that are impassable, and to get the teams out to have them cleared.
All right.
Of course, the political directorate, all the councils are part of the EOC, and those that are in close proximity to us in the Spanish Town area, they're at the EOC, and we're getting reports from those outside of the Spanish Town area, so that we can get the teams out.
All right, Mayor, we know that you have so much work to do. The teams on the ground are bustling even now this morning, so we won't keep you. Thank you so much for the work done and the work that you continue to do, and we'll see how best we can support the efforts island-wide. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
That was His Worship Norman Scott, the Mayor of Spanish Town and Chairman of the St. Catherine Parish Council. Kids Unfiltered is up next with Uncle Raymond. Stick and stay. Welcome back to Sunrise. Now, yesterday we heard from our Sunrise Junior reporters. I hope you caught that with their hurricane report. It was so good. Today, we're breaking down for the kids what exactly is a hurricane, and we have the perfect person to do it. It's Uncle Raymond.
Uncle Brains Box.
That's an improvement. That's an improvement over the names I was called. I joined it like the nerd, idiot. Anyway, on a
Nerd is in. Nerds are in. Nerds are the new cool.
Nerds. What's up, guys?
Hey, how are you? How you been, first of all?
Well, very little to complain about.
How's Craighead?
Very little to complain. I'm going there sometime today because half the persons, their phones obviously died. But it seemed to not have been that bad in the northern part of Manchester. It was more like a coast thing. So, hopefully all is well. And good morning, Jamaica, and hope you guys prayed this morning and pray again tonight because it could have been worse.
Indeed.
Amen.
Indeed.
Amen.
So, Raymond, from a scientific, meteorological sense, but
Kitty.
Child it down. What exactly is a hurricane?
All right, so the easiest way to child it down is difficult because not a lot of children play with gigs anymore.
No.
So if you consider a gig and you have the thread and you wind the thread around it, that's the power of a hurricane. And when you pull it and let go of the gig and it keeps spinning around, that's literally what the hurricane does. So let's talk about how it does that, right? So there you have the general movement, which I think everybody is a little tired of seeing, just to be honest, because we were all watching it so closely. So what happens is that when the water in the Atlantic Ocean gets to a certain temperature, roughly 80 degrees Fahrenheit, then a lot more evaporation takes place. So that hot evaporated water goes up, like what comes out of a pressure cooker. And as it goes up and cools, it gets trapped above the atmosphere, about 10 miles up. And then it creates these huge clouds. While that is happening, the Earth is also spinning and there is wind. So if those clouds start to turn in an anti-clockwise direction and get to about 35 miles per hour, it's called a tropical storm and it gets a name. Most times, seriously, they dissipate over the ocean. We don't even know about them.
We don't even know about them.
But some of them do too much. And they spin and spin till the faster they spin is the faster it creates that cycle of clouds and thunders and lightning. And then if it gets up to about 75 miles per hour, it becomes a hurricane. The problem we are having with like Beryl is that the sea temperature is so warm. So it's like you're throwing gas on fire and it just keeps that spin going. So if you remember, Beryl became like a Category 5 hurricane.
In no time.
No time at all.
And that was my concern because we were having a lot of hot days in the lead up. So when I heard that a storm was forming, I was like, my gosh, that's not good news.
But Uncle Raymond, explain to me again, like I'm 7. What does the heat of the water have to do with? You were talking about the clouds and then the this and the that, but what does the heat of the sea have to do with anything?
So the heat is like if you're boiling a pot of water and it starts to bubble. You don't actually see the sea bubbling, but it gives up a lot of water vapor with a lot of energy and heat. Hot air rises, cold air falls. So as the hot air is going up, cold air is rushing in to replace that. And that also becomes a part of the problem, because then you also now have that cycle. So it's like if you start a car engine, you see the fan belt spinning, you see the fan spinning, there's something else in the engine that is spinning, and all of that spin gives it more energy. And then the heat continues to feed it with more energy. And once it gets that, I almost said nice. Once it gets that core formed, which we call the eye, then that's when you know it's ready for business. And then you have what is called the eye wall. So the eye is right there at the center. They'll bring it up again soon. And then if you imagine like you can punch somebody, but then if you use your elbow and hit them, that force is the eye wall. So what was happening along like in the vicinity of the airport and all along the south coast, just imagine somebody elbowing Jamaica, Beryl, elbowing all of the south coast of Jamaica. That's a very powerful section of the hurricane. And then the back of the hurricane is like a scorpion tail.
Yeah, because it's whipping around afterwards.
Exactly. So, you know, it passes and it's as if it's Oh, the things that are gone. Watch this now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the last leak.
Why does an eye happen? Like, why isn't it just full of wind and full of gusts? Why is there like an eye of peace in the center of a storm?
All right, so the eye of peace, I love the way you put that, is because, again, if you go back to the gig or a jacks, people still have jacks, and you spin the jacks.
No.
It's just that because at that section, at the very center, is where all of the force is generated. So it appears peaceful.
It's, everything is surrounding that point.
It, and it's if the storm itself is about, say, 50 miles, that eye is about 1 to 3 miles wide. It's really a deception. It's not peaceful at all. It is the what you would call in physics the fulcrum. That's where everything is coordinated. So it's like another good example. Everybody will know this one because we all love cotton candy.
Yes.
So you look on the cotton candy machine, you see the streaks of sugar forming. And at the center there, where it is spinning,
there's nothing.
There's nothing.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing, but that's where the spin is happening.
Right. Which is creating everything else.
Which is creating everything
when
else.
you make a food reference, it's clear. It's clear for me.
No, I mean, you weren't asking for you. You were asking
Right,
for the
kids.
7-year-old.
It was for the kids, right?
I tell you, you know what's going to happen now, Dennis and TK? People are going to be going to all of the fairs, and they're like, oh, the cotton candy is like, the whole machine is like a little
sugar hurricane.
And that's really what it is.
Uncle Raymond, can you, you have something?
I did want to know, so in the Caribbean, we call it a hurricane.
Right.
But you hear, for instance, in Southeast Asia, you hear about monsoons, you hear about typhoons, you hear about other things.
And cyclones.
Are they the same thing in other spaces, just different names, or are they different systems?
They're the same. So everything is a cyclone, and the emphasis is on cycle, right? They call it a cyclone in the South Asian seas, the Indian Ocean, around Australia, if one happens to form there. In our area, they call it a hurricane, and on the Pacific, it's called a typhoon. So just imagine that cyclone is the grandfather, and hurricane and typhoon are two sisters, and then tropical storms are the children of the two sisters. So it's all related. So you can, and you'll hear some of our reporters refer to it as tropical cyclone. So all of them are cyclones. The other distinguishing factor with a hurricane, the spin is anti-clockwise because of the Earth's movement above the equator. Below the equator, the spin is clockwise. So just a little variation, like two cousins will favor them one another.
Yeah.
I had one. How comes the hurricane season happens the same time in the year? Why don't we get hurricanes in December or
That's the scariest question, right? Because everybody's talking about the fact that Beryl happened really early out and broke a lot of records. So hurricanes don't know the time of the year. Hurricanes know temperature of ocean surface. So as we keep hearing that this year is hotter than last year, and February is the hottest February on record, and March is the hottest March on record, and so on and so forth, I hate saying this, but you could have a hurricane forming at any point in the year, including March or February, if the ocean surface is hot enough. That's the thing. That's the trigger, is the heat of the surface of the ocean, especially in shallow waters. And this is where to say that the Caribbean Sea is shallow, because
relative
to the Pacific Ocean, relative to the middle of the Atlantic. So the heat index is greatest in the shallower sections of the oceans, which is the Caribbean Sea. We love where we live. It's the most beautiful place on earth, but it is also right in the middle of Hurricane Boulevard, you know. So that's just one of the things we just have to deal with, and that's why I don't want to get off on my soapbox here, but that's why climate change mitigation efforts are so important. We really have to understand that the Earth is roughly 1.2 to 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer than on any other period in history. And if it gets to that 2 degrees Celsius, we will be having, let me rephrase that, we could be having more of these events, more intense and more frequent. So, serious things.
Indeed. Well,
Uncle Raymond, you're kind of freaking me out.
We don't want to, so let's go back to the cotton candy reference.
Candy, woo!
That wasn't the plan. That wasn't the plan. But the most important thing, guys, we got a close brush with beryl. It's really been devastating for some people. On a whole, Jamaica can celebrate, but we're still at the start. So get your hurricane kits. Keep listening to the Met Services. I want to big up the Met Services. In the era of fake news, one of the things I loved is that the head of the Met Office did these videos where he identified himself on each occasion. So the members of the public could know that we were getting good, proper, accurate information.
True.
Absolutely.
So thumbs up to the Met Services.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much.
Uncle Raymond. That was so helpful.
Right. So also, ODPEM was ODPEMing.
Oh.
All the way through.
Absolutely.
The state agencies really did their job.
And the telecommunications companies never went
down.
Yeah, that's true.
Once you had charge on your phone, you could tune into CVM YouTube.
Hey.
And Courtney and the rest of the team out there doing their things. So, excellent job, guys.
Awesome.
Real talk. Excellent, excellent job from all of our providers over this period.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks again, Raymond, for stopping by. And of course, we're going to take a break and hit the home stretch when we return, right here on Sunrise.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I am here.
Oh, yes, hearing you loud and clear. Good morning.
No, absolutely not. I'm going home as soon as we're done.
Welcome back to Sunrise Sunrisers. Beryl, oh Beryl, has every organization and facility on their toe point. And that includes the healthcare facilities in Jamaica. So joining us this morning to give us an update on the current conditions of the health facilities due to Hurricane Beryl is Dr. Nicole Dawkins-Wright, Director of Emergency Disaster Management and Special Services in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Welcome to Sunrise.
Good morning, Doc. How are you doing?
Good morning to you, good morning to all your this is on the platform. I am not doing too badly. It's been around 24 hours. We're still in that mode, but we're good.
Indeed. From a ministry perspective, you are looking to manage several facilities, several categories of facilities, and we know that even at this time, persons are hunkered down in these facilities. First of all, give us an idea of the state of play. Were any healthcare facilities, whether hospitals or otherwise, damaged as a result of the storm?
Okay, so thank you very much for that. So, our system did get quite a bit of beating with the storm that passed. Our teams are currently in the field to do a very detailed evaluation, but yes, there were some facilities that were impacted. And we had to do some interventions to ensure that we could maintain services as best as possible. The teams did respond, and so there are some corrective measures that we have to do and some repairs, but services were able to be maintained at some of the facilities. I can't provide the absolute details right now, but suffice to say that all our hospitals remain open and are able to provide emergency services, and we've been able to keep that going in spite of the impact on a few of our facilities. Our teams are healthcare workers who were sheltering in place and providing services. Yes, they were, as everybody would have been, preparation is key. And so our teams were prepared and were bracing for impact. And so whilst they were under a bit of pressure, they were able to maintain their composure and provide care. And so they are now would be transitioning in terms of the staff as best as possible right now and would need to refresh themselves to get back to play. So the teams are on the ground and providing care. Our diagnostic facilities remain as before, so we're able to conduct our evaluations of persons who present. And as I mentioned, the teams are on the floors in their respective spaces and able to provide care. In terms of our primary care facilities, that are health centers that are closest to our persons, it is expected that we will open for the public. The teams are currently doing that out right now for us to be able to categorically state what is the state of operational capacity. Our primary care facilities are the health centers, but it is at present we expect that we should be able to open to the public for care. In the usual opening hours that we have. We will provide the official information as soon as the information comes in, and we do the canvassing. And as I indicated, a detailed infrastructure assessment also needs to be done. That will take a little bit of time before we can guarantee, all is well to receive our patients to their comment.
Dr. Nicole, I mean, I know you're still gathering the information and, you may not have the full answers of this, but are there any reports of a whole heap of emergencies coming into the facilities, into the hospitals, maybe an uptick in people visiting the hospitals during the hurricane, or nothing above average?
No, our people have been heeding the warning and been, very compliant, and so there really wasn't an uptick per se. And so we put in the numbers, but we have not seen a surge, as is usual. We did have a few persons who would have come in for emergency care. We provided some assistance to get them access to care, but there was not a surge in numbers. We did not have at this time, we do not have any persons presented as direct injuries from the storm. And so it is very, very preliminary at this time. I just want to emphasize that. So we will be reviewing, but we did have some persons who accessed care. We assisted with us too, but there was not a surge in the numbers.
Thank you very much, Doc, for that comprehensive roundup of the situation in the healthcare system. Our guest has been Dr. Nicole Dawkins-Wright. She's the Director of Emergency Disaster Management and Special Services in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Well, from the ministry to the municipality, CVM has had it all for you. We're going to take a break. As a matter of fact, we're going to wrap the show for today. That's all the time we have. If you've missed anything, if you've seen elements that you want to watch again, feel free. You can just tune in to CVMTV.com. You can go onto our social media, of course, our YouTube, our Instagram, at Sunrise CVM, at CVMTV on YouTube. So that's it for us. The roundtable squad does come up. Are you going to jump in on the roundtable?
I might jump in on the round. I see you throwing me in. I see you throwing me into the mix.
I don't think I have to.
But Dennis, you know, before we go, I want to say, anytime we are bad, we get loud up that we're bad. So you see, for everybody who I think for the most part seem to obey all the curfews,
the orders,
and all the orders, and all the. Congratulations, big up yourself, and thank you, Jamaica. I think we did well to keep...
for the most part. For the most part.
Give it to us now, Dennis.
I'm giving for the most part.
For those of us who did well, we did well. So thank you, Jamaica, for keeping Jamaicans safe by observing the rules and regulations. The roundtable is up next.